What's going on, friends? Welcome back to Forward Progress, live here on the Forward Progress YouTube channel, part of the Hammer Betting Network and powered by Pinnacle Sportsbook. I'm Jason. You can catch me here every Thursday, every Friday to talk in-depth player props with Hitman, preview the Thursday night football matchup with Eric. We'll talk a little bit about Survivor pool picks. Guys, this is the best place to get prepped for this Thursday night football game. So make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment on who you think is going to win tonight's game. There's a little poll in the chat going right now with the spread, what side you're taking. Let us know. We're always curious to kind of hear these sort of things. So going to bring Eric on in just 1 second. But before we do, none of this would be possible without our sponsors over at Pinnacle. Pinnacle is the world's sharpest sports book, offering competitive odds for 25 years. We love to preach line shopping on this channel. With everyday competitive odds, Pinnacle should be one of your available outs. If you're looking to sign up and support the show, make sure you use code HAMMER when you're signing up to Pinnacle. That is code HAMMER when signing up to Pinnacle. Your trusted sportsbook for 25 years. Bet smart. Bet Pinnacle. Must be 19 plus in Ontario. Please play responsibly and not available in the U.S. Guys, last week, Eric was a little bit under the weather. Couldn't come on, but he's back. Joining us now, VP of Analytics at Sumer Sports. You can catch him on the Sumer Sports Show, and you can catch him here on this channel every single Wednesday and Thursday for our best bets show. Eric, how are you feeling after that little flu bug last week?
I'm feeling okay. It was a little rough though, and there's a few people in my house who are still a little bit sick, but we're gonna make it here, and we're gonna have some fun.
I appreciate it. It's the Eric Eager flu week, the bounce back week, Michael Jordan-esque. That's what we're looking at right here from Eric. And Eric, I apologize. I ate an apple last Thursday, so I kind of apple a day keeps the doctor away. No, that's horrible. Anyways, let's get right into it. Yeah. Let's get right into it. Biggest story off the top here is the status of Trevor Lawrence. I mean, right before we went on about an hour ago, status seemed up in the air, and then Peterson said that he's likely going to play. He's going to do a pre-game workout first just to kind of work through to see if he can play here. Seems to be a true game time decision. If he does play, he's going to be having that knee brace on. Now, Trevor Lawrence is a guy who kind of relies on his legs. Not really, but not to a great amount, but he relies on his legs to kind of escape the pocket, extend plays. So what are your thoughts on Trevor Lawrence tonight if he does play with that knee brace? I mean, the line right now is sitting at -2, -107 for the Saints over at Pinnacle. Does that feel correct to you? How much do you think a knee brace on Trevor Lawrence's leg is going to hinder his ability at quarterback here?
Yeah, I think if Lawrence is fully healthy with no question marks, you probably could put the line closer to a pick 'em. So you are seeing some value going towards New Orleans at this number. Also, New Orleans has been a team that, frankly, I'm writing for Sumer Sports tomorrow. The NFC South has the lowest projected win total of any division in the NFL, despite playing the easiest schedule in the NFL so far. So I think New Orleans is a little bit overrated, and you're seeing that, I think, reflected in the market so far this season. But right now, I think that I do think that it would be probably a pick 'em, or maybe -1, kind of where it was a little bit at open. If Lawrence were fully healthy, but not being fully healthy, I think people underestimate how good Lawrence is moving, with the football, both in the pocket, but also as a runner in the run game as well. So I do think it is a tough break for Jacksonville. They don't have him, because this is one of those teams that, unlike the Saints, are a team that where everything is built off the quarterback. They did get Robinson back, last week at left tackle, last couple weeks at left tackle. They have, a rookie at right tackle. I don't think their offensive line is good enough to support a quarterback who is more banged up than normal as well. So I think that's why you have seen some support for New Orleans in the market over the course of the week.
Yeah, that makes sense here. And I think Look Headlines even had the game as -1 for the Jags. I might be wrong there, but it seemed like that's what it opened at. Went all the way up to that number of 3, and then back down to that 2, kind of 2.5. Now it's at 2 range right here. So a lot of movement this week. If you checked out our show yesterday, you would have been able to get the 1.5 from Hitman, who really did his job there. Let's move on here, though, sticking with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, their receivers, I really thought when they got Calvin Ridley last week, he's going to be that true X receiver and that number one and that target hog for the Jaguars here and for Trevor Lawrence. Former draft pick of Thomas Dimitroff, by the way. First round pick, 26th overall here. But I mean, looking at target share and targets and receptions, Christian Kirk has 4 more targets than him. Zay Jones has been kind of in and out of the past couple of games. Christian Kirk's kind of operating out of the slot when Zay Jones is in, then kind of shifted over to that Y receiver when Zay Jones is out here. And I'm just shocked to see Christian Kirk get those targets. You would think Zay Jones being out kind of funnel those targets towards Calvin Ridley. So, I mean, my question here to you is like, did you expect to see this kind of split target share here? Do you think Calvin Ridley is just not really in game, like hasn't been like game ready yet for the first couple weeks because of that suspension last year? What's going on with Calvin Ridley? What's wrong with this Jags offense? Like, are we going to see more targets funneled towards him?
Well, I think Ridley is one of those guys that can get open quick in the route, but he really excels down the field a little bit. And that requires pass blocking offensive line play that I don't know if the Jaguars have. So, it's more quick stuff. And I think, Ridley is, can be good in the quick stuff, but I don't think that they envision him there over Kirk. So, that I think is the big thing for me. Like if you look at Calvin Ridley so far, and he has had some games, he had a pretty good game in London. Mm-hmm. He had obviously a great opening weekend against Indianapolis. But when you look at average depth of target, you're looking at 13.3 yards. It's among that's a bigger mark in football, right? Whereas if, you look at Christian Kirk, I'm looking at his average depth of target right now on this season. It's a little bit lower than that. Let me make sure I have this correct number here. Average depth of target for Christian Kirk is 8.7, right? So when you look at functionally what roles they play in the offense, like Kirk is more of the get the ball out of Lawrence's hands before he gets killed type of player. And if he gets into a setting like he did against Buffalo, like he did against Indianapolis in week 1, where he can push the ball downfield, I think the preferred guy is Ridley. But that is more game plan dependent than I think a lot of people believe going into the year.
Yeah, fair enough here. That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I believe you found those over at Sumer Sports Analytics under the wide receivers tab there. A great go-to spot for average depth of target stuff and stuff like that. So if you're looking for that, head over to sumersports.com. Let's shift over other side of the ball here, New Orleans. I mean, you guys on the Twitter account, Sumer Sports Twitter account, posted a little picture, a kind of breakdown of the New Orleans Saints offense, Jags offense, and like I saw the New Orleans Saints offense, their explosive play rate, it's 28th in the league towards the bottom. Yeah. Not very good at all. And I mean, just looking at Carr this year, he's 5th in the NFL in ADOT. He's throwing the ball downfield. That number should be a lot higher. On top of that, he has, I think, 10 more throws of 20-plus yards down the field than any other quarterback in the NFL. He's not afraid to push the ball downfield. Problem is they're not getting caught and they're not completing on those plays. On top of that, Derek Carr's completion percentage, he's 29th in the NFL among qualified quarterbacks here. Those stats coming from Underdog. I mean, this New Orleans Saints offense, it's aggressive, right? They're pushing the ball downfield, but at the same time, they're kind of not. They have a lot of short routes, short throws going to different players, right? We have guys like Michael Thomas, you have guys like Alvin Kamara. Those guys kind of excel in that short game. And then you switch over, you got guys like Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed who are burners who can beat downfield. And I think that's where you kind of see the discrepancy in ADOT and like target share and average depth of target here. I mean, I'm wondering if this team is kind of missing that intermediate pass catcher here, because with Olave, Shaheed, burners downfield, you got the deep targets there, and Kamara and Thomas, you have the short game, but there's nothing really in the middle. Is that making this offense too predictable here?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on it. Like if you look at, deep, which is like 28 out or more, Derek Carr, 19.5% of his pass attempts, one of the higher marks. Short, which is 0 to 9, or behind the line of scrimmage, you're talking about 59.5%. So he's throwing in that 10 to 19 range 14.5% of the time, which is less than he's throwing deep. If you contrast that with some other quarterbacks, like let's just take, for example, Patrick Mahomes of Kansas City. Like most of these guys, when you look at their passing, sort of depth tree, Mahomes, for example, only 10.2% of his passes are more than 20 yards downfield. 16.9 are in the medium, and that makes sense, right? It should sort of like have the biggest distribution in the short area, and then a little bit smaller, but then bigger than the amount that you have deep. And so for whatever reason, Derek Carr's kind of that he takes a lot of walks and then he hits or tries to hit a lot of home runs and not a lot of doubles and triples there in that offense. And that's, that is kind of like one of the angles I've looked at here is, trying to improve upon that. Rashid Shaheed right now, when you look at 18.5 at being his longest reception, he's got that in 4 of the games he's played in this year. I do think he is the one that they do go to in that deep part of the field. And given Jacksonville's kind of relative weakness in the secondary, I do like that over as one of the player props available tonight.
Yeah, and so just to lock it in here, we have longest reception for Rashid Shaheed. Line is across the board 18.5, but there's actually an ARB opportunity here. There's one book posting a -114 on the over, and Pinnacle's posting a +120 on the under here. So depending on how much you can get at that other sports book, there's a pretty good ARB opportunity here. And I mean, Rashid Shaheed, he looked like a monster last game. I know he only got 2 catches, but there's been a couple games where he's been getting 6, 7, 8 targets. I believe he had 3 games with 7+ targets here. He absolutely mossed the shit out of Steven Nelson last week. What a catch that was. So just to remind everyone on the show, we're going to lock it in live. You can find all of our picks tracked on Forward Progress HQ BetStamp account. Just go to BetStamp, type in FWD Progress HQ. You can find all of our picks track there. We're locking in right now. The 18.5 -120 is what's widely available, but best price in market is the -114 there. And I would recommend everyone go jump on that right now. So locking that in here. Moving on from that, let's just get into the rest of our props here, Eric, because you have a couple other props you want to talk about. You're looking at some tackle props here for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Why don't you talk us through your thought process through those?
Yeah, I think the numbers have moved a little bit, but I still think they have some value. The first one is last year's first-round pick out of Utah, Devin Lloyd, 3.5 tackles. So it's a combined tackle, so solo and assists at 3.5. I think you can get it market at -125 or so. It was a little bit less expensive a little bit ago, but Lloyd did miss some time. But so far this season, that number for him has been 3, 11, 5, and 9 in the last 4 games that he's played, which is all of the games this season. So, I just think from a numerical perspective, there's opportunity here. And then his running mate at linebacker, Foye Oluokun, another Thomas Dimitroff draft pick. His number's at 6.5, which is, I think in market about -130 or so. That number for him has been 13, 10, 14, 9, 6, and 15 this year. So I just think that this is mispriced. And additionally, like this is back to, sort of handicapping this game. Back to his days with the Raiders, but also, as we've seen with New Orleans so far, like this is a team that Derek Carr, when favored with the lead, has not leaned into their quarterback. And so I think that the more, let's say this thing moves the way that, the Hitman, on yesterday's show and some of the sharp bettors there believe, let's say that the Saints get a lead. I think they're running the ball to Kamara. I think they're throwing the ball to Kamara. I think that they're handing it to Jamal Williams, who's active tonight. And, Lloyd and Oluokun will get their opportunities to get some tackles in this game. And again, the other part about it, you might think that these two things are competing with each other, but no, when you bet that prop, it's tackles and assists. Oluokun and Lloyd can get one of those on the same play. So there's also that factor in where I think, it's less of a share situation than it would be for another player prop, like let's say catches, where if you bet over on Olave, you don't necessarily want to bet over on Shaheed unless you think it's a truly a big, big win for everybody.
Yeah, fair enough here. And just to lock that in, Oluokun 6.5 tackles -130, best price in market, and then Lloyd over 3.5 -125. All numbers widely available, all numbers tracked live here on this show. I mean, you gave out 2 defensive props here for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think one thing about this Jags team that I'm really impressed by is their defensive play. Were you as shocked as I am to see how good they've been on defense this year? Or is that more of a function of their kind of, I don't want to call it softer schedule, but I think they've had a relatively easy strength of schedule to start the year here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this Jags defense?
I think at the time, shutting down, only allowing 7 points to Atlanta was more impressive than maybe it is now that Atlanta has not done much offensively since that game. But when they were in London and took on the Bills, I thought that they were very good defensively. I think it's partially, getting in a division with some rookie quarterbacks. I mean, they were exploited pretty well by C.J. Stroud, but Anthony Richardson and Gardner Minshew. I think Minshew was more of a factor of interceptions and stuff than it was true play-by-play efficiency by the defense. So I'm not that high on the Jags defense, but what I do think that we've realized is they're good enough to beat bad teams.
Yeah, fair enough here. Let's move on from the game itself. Let's get into our survivor picks. Last week we were breezing with that KC pick. Just to recap for everyone, we had first week Washington, San Fran, Seattle, Chargers, Miami, KC. So if you're following along here and you're tracking, you're following along these survivor picks with us, Eric, who do you like this week for our survivor pick? There's a couple teams on the board we can take. There's Buffalo available. There's the Rams, who don't really have much future value. We can still take Baltimore. A couple teams here, a couple options. What are you thinking?
So I know I messaged you Buffalo, but I also do want to think about the future value here. I also think that on the road, I'm not a huge I am strongly considering that one. We did have Kansas City last week. The Rams would be, to me, I don't know if you want to go face to face with Mike Tomlin. So I do think the pick is Buffalo, despite the fact that they have some future value. If you are of the gambling type, like if you really want to gamble on this, the Rams laying a little bit more than a field goal against Pittsburgh coming off of a bye, is to me the second best pick. But it's a tough week. I think Buffalo is got to be your choice, though.
Yeah, and a reminder, if you're in a pool where Thanksgiving is its own week, you might want to kind of stave off Buffalo, right? Or is Dallas playing that day that you can take? That's an easy match because Dallas plays Detroit, right? Anyways, if you can look that up from
Detroit,
your
Green Bay, Washington, Dallas, and then the night game. Let me look at Thanksgiving NFL. But yeah, it's that particular week. You have Green Bay against Detroit, and if you haven't used Detroit to this point, then that's not a terrible one. You have Washington against Dallas, which might actually be a bigger grind, a la 2 years ago. And then the night game is San Francisco, Seattle. So if you haven't used one of those two, San Francisco going on the road to Seattle, which kind of muddies the waters that night. Because you often want to pick home teams for this contest. But
yeah, my mistake here. Got a little confused there. Just last question for you here with regards to the survivor stuff. I mean, I know you don't really want to take teams on the road here, but man, the Giants are absolutely massacred. Their offensive line is like dropping like flies. Like, we already took Washington, but if you had Washington and you were like kind of feeling confident with the amount of entries you had in a pool and you were looking for like a contrarian pick, is that a team you'd go for this week?
It could be. Division rivals also, like, so home divisional dogs are always just like, from and it's already baked into the line. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But again, you're not betting at ATS here, right? So it does matter as far as the probability of them winning is higher than in a normal such game. But you also do have the fact that, a really, really good effort last week against Buffalo. Oftentimes bad teams, after they have a really, sort of pop-up effort against a good team the previous week, will let down against a bad team the following week. So I don't mind Washington there. My other issue is in games or in situations where teams are trying to slow the game down, a guy like Sam Howell takes a lot of sacks and throws a fair amount of interceptions, might be a frustrating gamble for your survivor pick.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad we got the Washington out of the way in week one here. So let's go in, lock in Buffalo for that first pick here. And before you head out, Eric, two questions for you. We do this every time. Unofficial prediction for tonight's game. Let's use Pinnacle's line here, the -2, -107 for the New Orleans Saints, or are you taking the +2, -103 for the Jacksonville Jaguars here?
Yeah, I think as much as I hate to take Derek Carr in prime time or just in general, I do think that is the right side until it gets to 3. Once it gets to 3, I think you have a little bit of a choice to make. I believe the sharp bettors more than I believe the reports out of the media, and a lot of sharp bettors are more worrisome of the condition of Trevor Lawrence than the media seems to be. And I think, you think about incentives, right? You think about 2-point conversions and all this stuff in game. What's the incentive of the broadcast? You take a look back during, tonight's game. What's the incentive of the broadcast vis-a-vis, telling everybody that Trevor Lawrence is actually a lot more hurt than he should be. I don't think that the media actually has an incentive to tell the truth about him, how questionable he is until they actually have to, which is at game time. So that is something to think about.
All right. And then last thing before you get out here, first TD prop, last TD prop, or anytime TD prop, just give it away, gun to your head. Go for it.
Oh, that's a great question. I'll go with the backup running Tank Bigsby, the backup running back for Jacksonville.
Okay. All right. First TD or last TD, anytime, whatever you want to.
First
really.
one, yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Eric, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on today. Hopefully you're feeling better. That was Eric Eager, VP of Sumer Sports. You can check him every week on the Sumer Sports Show. You can check him here every Wednesday and every Thursday on the Forward Progress YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe, guys. We got Hitman coming on in a second, guys. Drop your comments for your plays down below. Last couple weeks we've had a great back and forth with the chat. Hitman answering all of your prop questions. If he's leaning towards your plays or not, if you're on the fence on something, please drop it in the chat down below here, and we can get around to it. All you have to do is subscribe. And once you're subscribed, you can talk freely in this chat here. And before I bring on Hitman, one more thing. Tonight at 8 p.m., Rob Pizzola alongside George Silfides, Eric Eager, who we just had on here, and Fabian Sommer, who will be live from Germany for the fourth quarter, will be live on the Hammer HQ channel for a watch-along of tonight's game between the Jags and the Saints. So make sure you guys check out that stream. It's always a good time. We place bets pregame. A lot of fun here. So let's move on from here. Let's get Hitman going. Hitman, you are off the schneid. You're back, man. What's going on? You're on a winning streak now. How's it going?
I am betting stale props right now on some sites on the college football game tonight. Reggie Brown over 3.5 receptions minus 140, and Elijah Surratt over 4 receptions minus 105. Got sent it from another sharp guy. That's what I'm up to right now. Have no idea who these guys are, what team they play for. You got to shop around for those lines, but that's my life right now, Jason.
All right, so I mean, Reggie Brown was it? I don't even know who.
I don't even know.
I don't know what
Brown
team they play for. So.
Brown and Surratt, and those are the prices. So that's what we're up to on this beautiful Thursday.
If you are a frequent of this Thursday show, you know that Hitman loves to give out his exotic props here on the show. We've had anything from win totals to, I believe you once gave out like a Friday a spread on a game.
Oh, it was a college football, and I'm going to give you another college football later because I heard that Hit the Books and Kanish is just on a big losing streak. So somebody's got to give a college winner. So I'm going to give one.
Fair enough here. And word on the street is that you almost got demoted to the Hit the Books channel because of your ROI on the Forward Progress bets, but you bounced back this week. And this Thursday show, you've been crushing.
Nobody with better closing line value. I hope Pizzola is listening. And nobody better with the leans. If it was a 3-pick show, I'd be number 1 right now. So
exactly. If you lose the best bets, always reference the leans here. Let's just get right into it, man. I mean, you staked your claim yesterday, on the Forward Progress live show. You did your job though, right? You gave out the Saints minus 1.5. It's now moved to 2.5 here. Job done. Can't control what happens on the field here. But my question to you is there a buyback spot at all for anyone who was able to scoop up that 1.5 yesterday for the Saints? Like if the line moves out to 3 and Trevor Lawrence is playing, probably won't happen, but is there a buyback spot for you here at all?
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I mean, the buyback, everything I'm going to say about this game is just how to react to the Lawrence news. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you're looking to bet this game with the spread right now, I'd say that at minus 2.5, it's kind of saying that Lawrence is like 50-50. Yeah. I would guess that the line closes around pick'em if he plays. And if he does not play, I'm going to guess like 4 will be what we'll see. So the market's kind of saying 50-50 right now. So, I mean, I'm not going to buy back anything right now unless I get intel or just read the tea leaves. I think that Lawrence is going to play. So, I mean, that's just the way to bet it. And that's the way to bet a lot of the props today. One thing that I think is interesting is the line was 1 most places this morning. All these reports come out that Lawrence is going to probably play, and the line is kind of going against that just a little bit, where the market is saying like 50-50. From a lot of the sharp people I talk to and myself, if you want to put me in that, I'm kind of hearing 50-50 also. So I think that the media is maybe a little bit more optimistic, where the media is kind of making it sound like 80-20, something like that. But the market's saying 50-50, and I agree with the market in this case.
And Eric mentioned that as well on the show here. He said that there's like less incentive for the media to be like truly 100% truthful about the percentage chance of him playing, right? They want people to tune in Thursday night. They want that to happen. So, I mean, they want people to think that Trevor Lawrence is going to play. Go ahead.
And the media has been terrible. I mean, I think it was
seriously.
2-3 weeks ago. Connor Allen of 4 for 4 did a thread on everything that the media got wrong. And it was like a list of like 10 things where there was player usage, players in and out. They were saying Watson was in, where I was hearing all week Watson was out, and he ends up being out. The Derek Carr stuff. So like, I mean, I think that the media is going to be right more times than they're not. Of course, people are always wrong. Like it, but I wouldn't run to the bank that he's playing. I think 50-50 is the best way to characterize it right now.
And that makes sense as well. Like, I'm sure these reporters get reports directly from these teams, but like, hey, if you're Peterson, you don't want people knowing if you don't want the Saints to know if Trevor Lawrence is going to play or not. That's a completely different game plan if he plays or if he doesn't. So you want to keep your opponent guessing here. I'm sure it's a little bit of strategy from the team giving out that news itself here. And you talked a little bit about how to react if Trevor Lawrence is in or out to tonight's game. But I'm curious how, if you're betting these at all, how would you navigate this quarterback injury in the prop market with guys like Calvin Ridley, with guys like Christian Kirk, with guys like Evan Engram? Their line, like Evan Engram's line's almost the exact same last week as it was this week, even though they were playing against a much worse corner group last week. Ridley and Kirk, their line's down, like I want to say 9, 8-ish yards here. So, I mean, their lines, let me pull these lines up here in a second. Their line, Calvin Ridley sitting at 52.5 consensus in market here. Do you think that there's been enough correction on Calvin Ridley's line with the news that Trevor Lawrence might not play?
What are you seeing on Ridley receptions right now? Because a lot of my prop screens are messed up right now.
So Ridley receptions, I have 4.5 here. Over is plus money. So I mean, that could be. The under is minus 135 is best price in market, slightly off. The 140 is a little bit more consensus here. Are you gonna do a best bet live right here on the show? Is this part of the? Are we gonna watch the Hitman handicap work in action right now?
So I bet Calvin Ridley under 4.5 catches, minus 125-ish yesterday. Okay. I bet the yards in the 55.5 range. I mean, I see a 4.5, 130 at a major book right now. If that would kind of be within my price point that I would play Ridley under right now.
Okay. I don't see it right now on my odds screen. I might be.
I think. Are you using BetStamp?
Yeah.
We got to yell at Johnny. I think that BetStamp's a little messed up. And I love BetStamp. I use it also. I think that it's a little messed up right now.
Okay.
I think that there's some 130 at a major book that's taking good limits, even on flagged accounts.
Well, well, that will be like a little scavenger hunt for the audience right here. If you're looking for that minus 130, I'm going to lock it in for us here though as a half unit on minus 135, just to keep it official.
Go full.
Okay. We'll go full on the minus 135. If Hitman's saying minus 130 is available in market, I'm sure 135 is going to be widely available as well here. So I'm going to track that.
Yeah, Ridley under 4.5 available at a major book that's taking good limits on it, even from flagged accounts. The Ridley one, so I bet his unders the other day, and it's more of like, it's one of those bets that I believe Lawrence is 50-50. And if Lawrence doesn't play, it's kind of like a free roll. Where if Lawrence doesn't play, I think it's a really good bet. And if he does play, it's kind of a gun that had leaned to under anyway, because he does have the toughest matchup, likely going to see Marshawn Lattimore's coverage. And even though Calvin Ridley profiles as a guy that should do well against man coverage, which the Saints are a predominantly man coverage defense, he's actually really struggled against man coverage as far as his target share has been this year. And overall, his target share hasn't been great either. He's been behind Christian Kirk most of the year. And Christian Kirk has been the guy that's been more prone to getting the targets against man coverage. And he's going to have the better matchup as well. So Calvin Ridley under the 4.5 receptions would be a play of mine right now.
And you can see that reflected in the line as well here for Christian Kirk. 4.5 receptions lined. The over on 4.5 Christian Kirk receptions is around 135 best price in market, consensus like 150. The under is plus money, big plus money there. And it kind of makes sense, right? Especially if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play. We talked about this earlier on the show here, that Christian Kirk compared to Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk's kind of for the quarterback, he'll get those quicker throws, whereas if you get time in the pocket, you'll probably see more throws to Ridley here. But assuming it's a backup quarterback, I'm sure they're just going to want to get the ball out as quickly as possible here. Let's turn towards the comment section, though. Guys, don't forget, drop your plays in the comments. I already see a couple in here right now. We got one from Cody Pfeiffer. He's asking about Olave over 61.5 receiving yards. Not sure exactly what the price is, guys. Reminder, if you're going to drop plays in the comments, please add price as well, because that's incredibly important here. But I see a rogue 61.5 minus 118 out here when the rest of the market is at 63.5 towards the over, same price around 115 there. Hitman, what are your thoughts on the Olave 61.5?
I'm a little nervous about playing any Saints pass catchers to go over on the yards because of the offensive line issues right now. They're missing 3 starters on their offensive line. Derek Carr has been very prone to checkdowns throughout his career. So if he is getting that type of pressure and everything, I think that if you are going to look at an over on any Saints guys, and I haven't bet any Saints receivers over or under right now, but if I was going to do it, I think if you're going to do it, I would think that the receptions would maybe be more appealing and that the Saints rely a little bit more on the short passing game. So that's how I would look personally.
Exactly. And we talked a bit about that with Eric Eager, Eric locking in Rashid Shaheed on the long reception for, I believe it was 18.5 yards here. Because, I mean, listen, with the way that Derek Carr is throwing this deep ball, they could potentially get it on one pop. But, like, I'm kind of afraid because he's not really throwing too many catchable balls here. Let's continue on with the comment section, though. Cody asking once again about Alvin Kamara. He's looking at his longest rush. He's looking at the under 12.5 for Alvin Kamara's longest rush here. Don't have a price on that. Oh, just got a price right now. It's minus 102, minus 104, minus 115-ish range. Let's call it minus 110 to minus 105 in market here. Do you like that? Is that a lean for you? Or are you kind of staying off?
I bet all the Kamara. I bet all the Kamara unders. This was yesterday before the Jamal Williams news broke today. I had some good feelings that Williams was going to be active for this game, and it's a really tough matchup with the 3 offensive linemen out and the and Jacksonville having a good run defense. So I really don't. I'm not the best as far as pricing these markets typically, but I would just say subjectively I would be leaning towards the under on that prop because I am anti-Kamara today and just makes sense from a handicapping perspective. Williams is in. Jacksonville's run defense being good. Kamara hasn't exactly been a super explosive player over the last 2 years. So I would, I agree with that.
Yeah. And I'm sitting here with Calvin Ridley and Alvin Kamara, my starting lineups on fantasy, and you're kind of making me nervous right now here, Hitman, with who you're fading tonight, but that's all right. We'll move on from there. Any more guys in the comments, please drop your plays down below. We'll get to them, but let's stick with Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby here. I mean, Etienne's been dominating the backfield share. I mean, getting, I think it's over 70% of the snaps, tons of the workload here. Are you looking towards Etienne? Have you bet anything for Etienne here today or Bigsby at all? Nothing. You just haven't bet anything at all for it?
I haven't done nothing with it. Eric mentioned if Lawrence is in, how am I looking to attack the props? I would say that I would be looking, if there was a Jacksonville player that my first instinct would be to bet over on, it would be Christian Kirk, who we touched on earlier, that he has the better matchup and he is the guy that gets more looks against man coverage. So that would be probably my first reaction to Lawrence being in, is to look at Christian Kirk to go over. I don't think I'm going to be racing to bet Ridley. And then Evan Ingram is going to be Evan Ingram. There's another inactive to be paying attention to. The Saints are a really good tight end defense, which is anti-Ingram. And but Demario Davis is a game time decision for this game, and he's a big part of why they're a really good tight end defense. Their star middle linebacker. So I think that there's 2 things to be looking for. If we hear that Lawrence is in and Davis is out, then maybe look towards some Ingram overs. And then conversely, if we hear that Lawrence is out and Ingram and Davis is in, then maybe we look towards some Ingram unders. So that's a guy that I think is very reliant on the inactive reports later today.
Okay, and his yardage total right here is at 43.5 in market. I mean, tons of juice on both sides, but if you shop around, you can find.
I'd be more prone to take his unders on the receiving yards in comparison to receptions because he is a very low average depth of target player.
Okay, so receptions are 4.5. It seems like all these Jags are lined at 4.5 here, but tons of juice towards the over here. The under is at plus 130, best price in market. You can get a plus 121 over at Pinnacle over here. So keep an eye on Demario Davis. If he's out, go smash those. If he's in, go smash those unders. If he's out, maybe take a look on the over here. My last question to you, Hitman, before I let you go here. Are you going to be looking to play any quarterback props if it's CJ Beathard in the game here, or are you just not even gonna dip your toes?
I lean towards Carr unders right now, even though it does set up to be a game script that the Jags are probably going to stop the run and they're a little bit of a pass funnel. I still lean towards his unders on the pass yards. But it's more of something like if Lawrence is out, then maybe it becomes a play of mine because obviously they're going to be more positive game script for the Saints. If Lawrence is in, probably don't touch it. So maybe that's probably the only way I end up looking with the quarterbacks. But again, it's just a game that you're really going to have to wait to see what's happening with the injury report. I feel like every Thursday we've been saying that.
It's the way it is, though. It's part of the market here, and it's all about how you react to the market here. Last question from Insight. Derek Carr interceptions over 0.5 interceptions at plus 105. Do you like that? I mean, you just talked about the Jags potentially being maybe a pass funnel team. We know Derek Carr doesn't have the most accurate deep ball there. So what are your thoughts on the
maybe if Lawrence is in? I don't hate it because again, they're probably gonna have to have more volume if Lawrence is in. So again, not a market I'm usually doing a great job of pricing, but just subjectively, if Jacksonville is a pass funnel and Lawrence is in, maybe some more pass attempts from Carr. So maybe that's when I would look towards playing that over interceptions.
Okay, I love that. All the information you get, what you need from Hitman right here. Before you go, Hitman, 3 questions for you. Same thing every week. You mentioned one a college football play here. So let's talk about it. What's this college football play you got?
Well, I can't give you much of a handicap because I know nothing about these teams, anything. I'm just going to tell you BYU and Texas Tech under 51. I think, don't hold me to it, but I think you'll get some closing line value on that. Maybe like 49 and a half. So
okay.
Somebody's got, Kanish can't win, so somebody's got to give a college football winner on this network.
Listen, we track everything on this show, and if we're going to give it up, we have to track it. So do you want a full unit, half unit? Yeah. What are we doing here? The first NCAA college football track.
Full's good. I think I gave one out a few weeks ago, too. I don't even remember if it won or lost, to be honest.
I think it won. I think with the backup quarterback situation. Anyways, I'll take a look back and check on that. But yeah, we're going to lock it in on this account right now. Under 51 minus 110, taking Kanish's job here for the Texas Tech BYU game. Smashing that, locking it in. Last 2 questions before you go, Hitman. Games line -2, -107 towards the New Orleans Saints, +2, -103 for the Jaguars. Actually, I'm wrong. It just moved +2, -108 for the Jaguars, -2, -102 for the Saints here. What side do you like? Unofficial gun to your head play.
Saints. I just, even if Lawrence plays, it's like a bet that I don't absolutely hate. And if Lawrence doesn't play, I like it a lot. So it's kind of it's just some asymmetric risk, in my opinion. So on something that I think is 50-50 if Lawrence does play. So I like the Saints.
That makes sense here. And then your favorite thing we do on this show, first TD prop that you like, gun to your head. What are you looking at here?
I'm looking right now at the odds. How about
Eric took Tank Bigsby, so
I'll go with another backup running Jamal Williams, like 14-1 or whatever it is. We'll go with him.
All right, sounds good. Hitman, we appreciate it, guys. You can catch Hitman every Wednesday on the Forward Progress YouTube channel and every Thursday. Hitman, thank you so much for stopping by with us.
Have a good one, guys.
All right, that was Hitman, current professional bettor. He's back on the schneid right now after that big win for the Forward Progress Wednesday bets show. Guys, that just about does it here for us today. Remember to smash that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. Drop a comment for your prediction or vote in the poll for your prediction on tonight's game here. And just before I head out, just want to remind everyone, tomorrow live at 2 p.m. Eastern, we'll be back right here alongside Matthew Friedman from the Fantasy Life, John Legaza from The Athletic, Jack Miller from Establish the Run. We're going to talk player props. We're going to talk TD scores. We're going to talk about the injury fallouts from the Friday practice report. You do not want to miss out on this show. It should be a part of your process every week if you're looking to bet props on Sunday for football here. So guys, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe button on the way out. Make sure you check out our live watch along tonight with Rob Pizzola, going live at 8 p.m. Eastern over on the Hammer HQ account. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. For myself, for Eric Eager, for the Hitman, this has been Forward Progress right here on the Hammer Betting Network, powered by Pinnacle Sportsbook. We'll catch you guys later.